That was a legacy shot that Jimmy Butler was going for. There are a few instances where one shot can define a player's career. Scoring the game-winning bucket in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals to push your team to the finals is one of those moments that could put you in the big boys table. It can instantly make you one of the greatest players of all time, especially when you're type of talent that is good enough to be the best player on a championship caliber team. Jimmy Butler knew very well what a shot like that can do to a player's career. Let's go back to when Jimmy Butler was in the wrong end of one of the greatest shots in history. It was Game 7 of the 2019 Eastern Semifinals when Kawhi made this shot. He was already one of the stars of the league before that moment, but after that shot went down, his career took a different turn. It helped fast track his progress as someone who is indisputably one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history, especially when the season ended with a title. Jimmy Butler was already putting up a Kawhi Leonard-esque performance for the 2022 playoffs. He had a total of 4 40-point games in the postseason, including an all-time great performance on the road in Game 6 against the Boston Celtics. He had 47 points on 54% shooting, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals, and 1 block. If you wanted to buy Jimmy Butler stock, Friday night after that performance was the time to do it. All of a sudden, we were comparing Jimmy Butler to players who are in the pantheon of NBA greats. From Miami Heat legends like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. We're even throwing Michael Jordan's name around. Think about how crazy all of that sounded. We're talking about a player that has never been selected to the All-NBA second team, let alone the first team, and that has never finished further than 10th in MVP voting. You can make the case that there hasn't been a single season where Jimmy Butler was considered one of the top 10 best players in the league, and maybe he was for just one season. However, we can't deny how great of a playoff performer he is. Being the leading scorer for a team that makes the finals is a big deal. Outplaying the MVP of the league and only allowing him to win just one game in a playoff series is a huge deal. Producing a 40-point triple-double in the finals against arguably the greatest player in the history of the league is even a bigger deal. He accomplished all of those things in the 2020 playoffs. Even if this did happen in the happiest place on earth, we can't minimize how rare it is to be the best player on a team that reaches the finals. Here are the players that were selected to be the NBA 75th team that never reached the finals. George Gervin, Carmelo Anthony, Damian Lillard, Steve Nash, Dominique Wilkins, Pete Maravich, and I'm going to throw James Harden's name in there. 4 years ago, it would have been foolish to even suggest that Jimmy Butler deserved to be mentioned in the same breath as those players. But just a few weeks ago, it was a real possibility. Maybe it was circumstantial that Butler led his team to the finals in the craziest season in history of the NBA. But doing it a second time leaves no doubts. It's no accident. It proves that you're an all-time great player. So there Jimmy Butler was, with the ball in his hands, having to make a huge decision. Do you attack the rack with Al Horford backpedaling? Or do you take the open three-point shot that would send your team to the finals? But that moment was bigger than just a Miami Heat season. We're talking about a legacy-altering moment. And I'm willing to bet Jimmy Butler knew what that moment would mean for him. Think about this for a second. Because of one shot, we're debating if Kyrie Irving deserves to be in that NBA 75th team. How many of us would take Kyrie Irving over Jimmy Butler right now to lead our team? I'm willing to bet no one would. But in every all-time greatest players list, you will see Kyrie Irving's name somewhere there, but you won't see Jimmy Butler's name. I also have Kyrie Irving in my top 100 players of all time. However, every single metric that is out there shows that Jimmy Butler gives more value to his team than Kyrie Irving does. The only thing that Kyrie has on him is scoring and converting on one of the biggest shots in NBA history. There's no question that his offensive skill is all-time great, but that shot that he made in Game 7 of the finals validated all of that. So maybe Butler saw a door that he never thought he would see open, and he decided to bet on himself. I can't blame him for trying to seize a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm sure many of us would do the same if we were in his shoes. However, that shot that he ended up taking was just short. Can we also say the same thing about his chance at being remembered as one of the greatest players of all time? In my opinion, I think he hasn't done enough at this point. We mentioned some of the accolades that he has failed to obtain, but did you also know that he has never finished in the top 10 in scoring? This baffles me because this postseason has shown us that he is more than capable of being one of the best scorers in the league if he wanted to. This leads us to our next point that goes against all conventional wisdom that you hear from sports pundits. The regular season absolutely matters in the NBA. It's something that history has always taught us, but we consistently fail to recognize it. Why is Wilt Chamberlain, in the eyes of many, one of the 5 greatest players in the history of the league, with only 2 championship rings? Why is Oscar Robertson one of the 15 greatest players of all time, with only 2 finals appearances? It's because of what they accomplished in the regular season. And if you want a more modern example, why is Russell Westbrook arguably one of the 50 greatest players of all time? It's because of how he has performed in the regular season. It helps offset his playoff failures, and he has had some major ones. Other than winning a championship, it's the best security blanket a player can have. Since winning in the NBA is so hard, the next best thing that you can do is to make the regular season count for something. Jimmy Butler has failed to do that throughout his career. He chose the type of player that he wanted to be. However, he had the chance to be one of the first players of his kind. A player that was usually only an above average player in the regular season, but then he turned into one of the best players in the league on the biggest stage. But a 1-year sample wasn't enough. We had to see it again before he could reach basketball lore. He bet it all on one shot, but he fell just short. And we'll see how he responds.